Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar that we will be holding on the document imaging module. We've been doing these webinars weekly for the last couple of months, going over all of the foundation additional modules within the system that you can add onto your base system. We have went over pretty much all of them at this point, and the document imaging module is pretty much the last one besides the consolidated general ledger that we'll be running in a couple of weeks. My name is Dylan Kilpatrick. I work on our client sales team here at Foundation. A little bit of background on myself. I've worked at Foundation for 5 years. I've worked on our implementation team. I worked on our support team, and now I work on our client sales team to kind of help direct clients as to what products and modules Foundation has as we kind of grow as a business. I talk to people all the time, and things that I hear is, oh, we didn't even know that you guys had that. We didn't know that you had this. So with a lot of turnover in the office sometimes, new people aren't always as familiar with all the Foundation products that have been there, as well as the new ones that we continue to offer. So we'll go through the document imaging module here shortly. I do like to point out, it's like a little bit of a housekeeping, is that the session will be recorded and the recording will be sent out to everybody after the session is over. So if there's anybody else on your team that you would want to share this with, you can definitely forward that off to anybody else on your team that would want to see it. So let's go ahead and jump into the system. So we are, logged into our, database here. The document imaging module is a part of the project controls. And really what the document imaging module is, it's a document management solution where you can scan, save, share, documents, job site images, do AP invoice approvals. It's a document storage. The storage is built directly into Foundation. There's no storage capacity on your images or PDFs or your scans that you would upload into the system. So it's all internal. You do not have to have this linked out to a specific local folder or SharePoint drive. If it's uploaded into Foundation, anybody that has access to the document imaging module would be able to see any of the images that are attached throughout the software. So we can attach documents to a lot of different places. So I usually like to start with the vendor maintenance, even though I typically see the biggest thing people doing is attaching AP invoices on the accounts payable side of things. But let's just start talking about some of the maintenance records that we can do. So under the maintenance records, we can also attach images here. So if I was to scroll down and find one of my vendors, if you see this little file cabinet option towards the top, that is telling us that there is a document attached to that vendor. So I could open that up and I might be able to find any documents that we pulled into the system. So if you guys want to store like a W-9 or something of that nature, or any other documents on a vendor, we would be able to see that when I pull it up. It would pull the PDF up or scan or document that we had attached on that end of things. I can also do that on other maintenance records. So I can go into an employee maintenance file, and if I want to store employee documents in the system, I can also do that here. So if I go into modify and I go down to the bottom here, I'm going to choose an employee and I pull his maintenance record up, I would also be able to see that. Now, the document imaging module kind of does pop up as a separate screen, which is why I kind of have to drag and drop it over, but you guys can use this on dual screens. So we might be able to see like a W-4 that was filled out, and I can view that in more detail. So you can store those files once they're uploaded in Foundation. Again, no need to keep those locally on your computer. They're always going to be attached to the maintenance record unless you go in there and delete them. And then we'll kind of get into the other portion of it, which is daily transactions. So one piece of it is, it doesn't have to just be used on the accounts payable invoicing, which is what I typically, for the most part, saw people doing when I was an implementation specialist. The majority of the training was focused usually on attaching images, scans, PDFs to AP invoices so that we had the record of those accounts payable invoices in the system. But one piece of the AP invoices that I like to jump into before we get into the daily transactions is going to be the routing rules. So this is an optional feature, but within the document imaging module, it does give you the ability to route AP invoices for approval. So in my system, I have this set up to be super straightforward and simple. I enter an invoice, it routes it to myself. It just comes right back to me, so that it's really easy for me to show. But what we can do in your guys' system is have multi-layered approval. So we can have other users that are set up in the system, and all of them have to approve it, or just any person in that list would approve it. So we can do multi-staged approval. We can also set it up to where if we want to say, hey, when a specific project manager's job is hit with an invoice, we want it to get routed to them. If it's a specific project class, maybe you guys are, have different divisions in different states and we need to go by geographic area, we can do that. Or maybe it's project class where you want to say, hey, all of our commercial invoices would go get approved by this one person, and all of our residential or industrial invoices would get approved by other people. We can set those up custom in your guys' system to route documents, these AP invoices for approval in whichever fashion you guys would need. So completely custom. We can set up as many rules as you need. When a document is entered, we can set it up to where it gets an email notification to the approver logs in and does the approval. And I'll show you guys how that works here in just a moment. Before I get to the AP invoices, I do like to kind of point out that we can also attach images to other daily transactions. So if you're like one of our users that uses AP or you use the inventory module, if we want to do like an inventory receipt in the system, and we would go into the software, we would start entering our AP, our invoice receipt here with all of our amounts and transactions. I can go and import an image and maybe attach like a bill of lading or something of that nature into the system. So I can simply go into the software. Under my AP transactions, I could find my file location where that is stored. Now, typically that would be stored in a document that you guys, a folder that you use consistently, but I could attach that into an invoice transaction on the inventory receipt side of things, as well as other parts of the system. If I was doing an accounts receivable cash receipt, I could link an image of the check in the system so that we always had a record of that as well. So just know that it's pretty flexible. You can use it in different parts of the system. It's not just solely accounts payable, even though that's going to be where I spend the majority of our time here moving forward. If I go into accounts payable and I go into enter invoices, this is not going to change your day-to-day transaction too drastically. It's really easy to pick up. It's not going to replace any kind of invoice entry, but what we can do is go into the system. We can select our vendor, select our job. We're just doing normal accounts payable invoice entry here, nothing too crazy. So we can go into the system, we can enter our information. If I needed to attach a purchase order, I can do that. I can choose my expense account and go through the entire process here of the accounts payable section. Choose my job, choose my cost code, choose my cost class, go into the system and put that information in. Now at this point, I'm able to hit the import image option, and it's going to open up the document imaging module. And this is where I can attach my invoices into the system. Now, what we can do in here is when we, what I would recommend, when I was doing implementations, is that all of our scans, all of our PDFs go get housed in one folder. Then what we can do in the document imaging module is we can actually open up a batch and link into a specific folder, and it will pull up all of the documents in that folder within a batch that we open. And then you can preview the invoices in the system. I have PDFs here, but these would be your scans, of our brochures, the document imaging module here. And then we would actually go ahead and drag and drop that onto the transaction in the system. So when we go ahead and do that, when we press close, now that transaction is going to be listed, it's going to be tied to the transaction number 238 here for that image specifically. So when we get an email for an invoice, or we scan something that gets sent to us, we throw it into a folder, we can batch that, and then it's a drag and drop system to get it into the document imaging module and the accounts payable transaction in the system. So that batch feature is really nice. It streamlines the entry process and makes it a lot easier than kind of selecting each one individually. Once I go ahead and save, if this is marked as green, this optional routing mode that we set up in the system, again, that's kind of something that you guys can pick and choose whether you use or don't use. So it's not a must-have in the document imaging module. It's just an additional feature. When you press OK, it's going to send us into routing mode. So when we get into the routing mode, it's going to have all of the people that this is getting routed to. Again, my system is set up to be very basic, and I can save and route that. So typically, as the AP invoice person, you would probably be going to your list entry area and trying to list and post that invoice. You'll notice when I get in here, even though I just saved that invoice, it's not going to be sitting in our list mode. It will not allow it to be posted until it gets through the routing. So I'll have a report on my end as the entry person to be able to go into pending mode, hit list, and see any invoices that are out there in the list. So you see I have 517 as my invoice for Home Depot here for material expenses. So that's sitting in routing mode. You can see who it is waiting approval by, and it'll just sit in the system until that happens. Approver's been notified. Now what they'll do on their end is they're going to open up the document imaging module. So this is the first time we've actually been in here. So when they open up that document imaging module, this is where the routing will happen. I open this up and it's going to show me any invoices that are sitting here waiting to be approved. Or on the flip side, if you're someone that is sending, it'll show all of your sent documents so you can get an update on those in here as well. So I'll go ahead and select that entry down here, and I can view all of the details. So now I can see that document that I've attached. Again, I'm using just a brochure for the document imaging module, but for you guys, it would be your invoice. We'd be able to pull that up and view it in more detail, zoom in, make sure all of the data looks correct, and that the entry matches what we see on the invoice here. And you'll actually be able to see all of the distribution down here at the very bottom: amounts, expense codes, jobs, cost codes, cost classes. If we see that something is wrong, there's two things that we can do. We can just reject and send it back to the person that did the initial entry. On the other side, we can also revise directly through the document imaging module as well. So I can go in and I can make my adjustments to the job, cost code, or cost class, amounts or anything of that nature, and I can send it back to the original entry person to adjust and go ahead and list and post. For sake of our process here, I'm just going to go ahead and say everything looks good. This is all matching out, and I can go ahead and approve that invoice here, save, and then it is going to route back. Again, if we had set up multi-layered approval where multiple people need to vote and save that, then that just wouldn't automatically get routed. With my system being set up to be just more streamlined and basic, it does send it all back automatically. So I'll go ahead and close down. As the accounts payable entry person, I will be able to go into my enter invoice area. When I open up my invoices, I'll go ahead and I wouldn't go into modify. I can go to my list. Once it has been approved, it will now be sitting here in my list ready to go ahead and post. So you as the initial entry person still has to do the last step of posting that, allowing it to hit your accounts payable aging report, your general ledger, your job costing, kind of finalize that invoice with the posting there. So we can post, and then now that is finalized in the system, it's posted, and the transaction is finished. Now, after the transaction is done, we will be able to see that document attached on a handful of different reports. We could run a specific aging report, and on the aging report, I can pull it in the system. I could find that invoice here. When I drill down into the transaction, if there is something attached, it will show up as a little paperclip option. When I hit the paperclip, it'll pull up the document viewer where I'll be able to see the document. So that's where that will live on an aging report or a history detail or full invoice report. And it'll also, on the flip side, go out to your job cost reporting. So for your project managers, if they're looking through their job cost reports, or anybody that would be looking at job cost reports, if they have the ability to drill down into further detail on the entry points in the system. So there's my job right here that I just did that invoice entry for. I'm going to open up my current materials, and I can get to that AP invoice that we just entered here. If I hit the little drill down option, I get back to that AP invoice detail report. The paperclip option, the transaction is listed there. I can pull it in the system and open up the document viewer. And then if you're one of those people that loves the vendor inquiry within the vendor maintenance files, and I had some people that were I've always had people that were super attached to this little report under the maintenance screen. We could also go to the vendor inquiry section, see all of the transaction details here, and then the paperclip icon will also show on the vendor inquiry with all the transactions as well. So those are the big spots for the document imaging. Again, we can link to accounts payable invoices, as well as other daily transactions, cash receipts, inventory receipts, so on and so forth through the system. We can attach documents onto jobs, vendors, employees to attach, job file, information, W-9s for vendors, W-4s, HR documents for, the employees as well. So those are our items there. What I will say is that, for things like, payroll maintenance on employees, if you're trying to save employee documentation there, you can 100% do that, but we do have a little bit of a better system nowadays for HRIS when it comes to storing documents with our new HR system called HRHQ. So I've kind of went through pretty much everything here in the document imaging module. I guess there's one other thing I want to show you guys before we open it up for questions. And it would be when you open up the document imaging module, it is also very easy to search through past documents and find them in the system as well. So if I go into the document imaging module and I go over here to the document search area, I can search through AP invoices, cash receipts, customers, vendors, employees, and all of these documents here where we can, actually attach our documents, and I can look it up by date range, job, invoice, vendor, invoice number, so on and so forth. So if I was to pull today's transaction just as an example and go ahead and hit find, I'll be able to find any documents. But if I wanted to look it up by invoice number, there's that 238, that transaction number, I could also pull that as well. So it's really easy to find documents under the document imaging module itself as well. So last thing here, I'm going to open it up for questions. I'm going to just go through whilst everybody's typing in their questions. I'm just going to hit a couple high point here on some other foundation products and modules that you guys may not know about. I kind of talked about one of them already, being HRHQ. So I'm going to run through these while everybody kind of gathers their thoughts, throws in some questions, and then we'll save the rest of the time for Q&A. And then, like I said, we'll go ahead and end, and then a recording of the session will be sent out after we are done. So not only, like I said, we've been running this weekly webinar series on the Foundation additional modules, we also, at Foundation, have a lot of additional products that a lot of people don't know about as well. So one of those being the most recent acquisition was going to be WorkMax. So WorkMax is a timekeeping solution. It's a best-in-class solution when it comes to time tracking, real-time time tracking in the system. And it integrates with Foundation. They're under the Foundation banner now. We're not kicking anybody off of the old Foundation field log, but this is potentially an upgrade if we need a more robust timekeeping solution. So under here, we have a couple of different things in WorkMax that are kind of like really good highlight features. We can do GPS location stamps and basically geofencing. So if one of your guys is clocking in down the road at McDonald's before he gets to the job site, we'll be able to pinpoint target that. And then you can actually really see on this screenshot, if you scroll down, it'll highlight those infractions here, and it'll actually notify you if they're outside of the geofence. It has patented facial recognition software. It's able to be toggled into Spanish. It works offline, and it has seamless integration with Foundation, so we can enter the time there and then push it right in. And one of the other things that I really like about it, and our clients really like, is the PIN login. So it's really easy to have our employees log in, because all they need is a PIN login to the system. They put in their PIN, they're able to clock in and out. It can be used on their personal device, or it can be set up on a kiosk mode on a job site as well. Next thing we're going to talk about is some of our HQ Suite products. I like to just point these HQ Suite products out. Some of them have been out for a little while, and some of them are still new. So Project HQ, everything in our HQ Suite is this web-based extension of Foundation. So we do not have to have our project managers, safety directors, HR people directly accessing everything in Foundation. This is a web-based extension. It's really nice for the project management module and things of that nature, because under project management, we can do RFIs, daily logs, submittals, change orders, purchase orders, subcontract agreements, and also AIAs, if I didn't say that. And we can push the data back from Project HQ to Foundation, so our project managers do not ever have to log into the accounting system. They can go into Project HQ, and then they can push the documents, the information back into Foundation as needed. Next feature here is going to be the Executive HQ. This is our web-based extension for reporting. It's going to allow your project managers to see their job cost data or job cost reports within the Executive HQ area. So there's no entry that would happen within this system here. It's just going to drag job cost details out of Foundation, make it reportable for them, and drill down. They can drill all the way down to transaction details when it comes to AP invoices, see budget versus actual, WIP reports, things of that nature under Executive HQ. So this is a nice, strong tool for, project manager wants to be able to view their job cost reports without having to get into, again, the accounting system. They can do it on their phone, tablet, computer, wherever they're at. Next item over, this isn't the most new item that we released in the HQ suite, but it is newer. Safety HQ is going to allow you to do safety tracking. It does integrate with Foundation. It pulls your jobs, your equipment, and your employees in here. And then we can set up custom and intelligent forms. I like to call them dynamic forms in the system, where we can actually go in and fill out JHAs, job site evaluations, equipment inspections, incident reports, accident reports, things of that nature. And all of the forms can be completely customized and specific to your company when we do that entry. So we can track those custom forms. We can do toolbox talks, track the inspections, training, certifications. We have an SDS library. We can do incident reports, generate your OSHA 300 straight out of Safety HQ. It's really clean system. It really works well. Our clients have loved it since we've released it in this as a part of our brand. And the last on that one, the last thing I like to point out is Safety HQ can also be toggled into Spanish as well if you have a Spanish-speaking labor force. And then the last slide here before we get into the Q&A, and there are some questions rolling again, and I appreciate everybody sticking in here with the questions and joining me here on this Friday at 1 o'clock Eastern here this afternoon on a Friday. So HRHQ is our brand new, it's just released this year, HRIS program. It's developed by Foundation for Foundation clients with our clients in mind, really. And this HRHQ system is, again, web-based. It integrates directly into Foundation. It's going to offer a handful of things. It's going to have employee electronic onboarding. So you can onboard your employees and then seamlessly integrate them back into Foundation and Payroll for Construction. You're able to manage PTO, so employees are going to be able to log into an enhanced self-service portal where they can do PTO requests, and you guys can do PTO approvals. They're able to get their pay stubs, electronic W-2s. They're going to be able to update their profile information. So if they want to go in there and make an address change, a phone number change, direct deposit, update a W-4, they can do that through their enhanced self-service portal within HRHQ, and then push those changes to you for approval. After the approval happens, would push those into Foundation, as a changes. So this is our most recent release. It's something that a lot of clients have been asking us for a long time. So if there is any questions on any of those products that I talked about, or any products in general on Foundation, you can always email me down here at the very bottom, and I can get you in touch with the right person to talk about those details there. So here's my contact information, phone number, and email address. I'm going to start running through some questions. If there's anything specifically you ever wanted to email me, or anything you had, questions you had in mind, there's my contact information. So let's get into the questions for document imaging here. It says, how is the person notified of the invoices to be approved? That is by email address. Next question is, can you save a W-9 on a vendor? Yes, you can save a W-9 on a vendor. You can save documents on any maintenance screen in Foundation, vendor, employee, job, so on and so forth, and store those in the software. Says there's no so I have one question is the indicators of attachments on reports. So I mean, it does have an indication of the attachments when you get down into the detail, and you can see those as that little paperclip option, and then you can definitely pull those. Next question down is, can you attach documents to the service dispatch? Yes, so you can attach them onto the service dispatch module and keep track of those over there. If you made a mistake and attached the wrong document, can you correct this? Can you delete the document and attach a new? Yes, you can open up the document image module, delete a specific document that is in there and correct that if needed. Or if you guys get new documents and the old ones we want to get rid of, we can do that as well. A couple questions here I'd like to put on price. On pricing, it depends if you're on premise, you're on hosted. So you can definitely email me down at the very bottom and I can give you specific pricing. What I will say is that during this weekly webinar series, whatever month that the webinar falls in, we are offering a 10% discount on the module if it's purchased within that month. So if you are interested in adding this module or talking to me further, you can email me directly, dkilpatrick@foundationsoft.com. Couple questions on WorkMax actually. So for WorkMax, can you accommodate multiple phases? 100%, we definitely can. And is there a sales video webinar showing WorkMax's capabilities? If you email me after the session, I can get you in touch with someone who may have some pre-recordings or even set you up with a demo to look further into WorkMax. So again, if there's any of those modules, whether it be modules within Foundation that you would want to talk about that we didn't talk about today, let me know, shoot me an email. Any additional products, whether that be our payroll for construction service, either of our estimating products, whether that be McCormick Estimating for the mechanical, the electrical, the plumbing, or even our sister company over at Estimating Edge that handles roofing, drywall, fireproofing, interior trades, painting, flooring, things of that nature. You can send me emails on those or any part of our HQ suite, whether that be project management, HR, safety, so on and so forth. Okay, and then the last question is, will people have to log in to see these attachments or documents that are attached? Yes, they will need a login to Foundation and access to the document imaging module to see the documents that are in Foundation that are attached onto AP transactions, so on and so forth. Those live in Foundation, they're attached in Foundation. Okay, so I can see that the questions have slowed down. Have a handful of people bouncing out here. I do just like leave a couple extra seconds here for any further questions, as we go. And I have one more actually just rolled in. Will all users have access to the module? That's completely up to you guys. This is just like the rest of the system, it's security driven. So if you guys give access to the document imaging module to someone, if they have full access, yes, they will. If we limit access to where they don't have access to the module, then they wouldn't have access to it. It follows all the same licensing and concurrent licenses that you guys currently have set up with all of your other modules within Foundation. Okay. And so if there's no other questions that we get here in the next minute or so, I'm gonna go ahead and end the session. I appreciate everybody again jumping on here on Friday for a end of the week webinar. Appreciate everybody jumping in. If there is again any follow-up questions, you can email me directly. My contact information is still on the screen here. Just let me know where you guys have any questions, and then we'll go ahead and end it. A recording will be sent out. Hope everybody has a great rest of your day and a great weekend as well.